All right, good news, everybody. Diane Feinstein has joined the surrender. Of course. So Diane Feinstein is a senator from California, which should mean she's very liberal or progressive. Hilarious. Of course, she isn't. That if you watch Fox News, you'd be like, oh my God, Nancy Pelosi and people like Diane Feinstein, they can take control of your lives. Dude, they can't even take control of lunch. If there's one thing that I can do, it's take control of lunch. Anyway, seriously, she's put out a statement saying she's taking another option off the table. So in the last 48 hours, not one Democrat has explained one way that they are going to fight for Ruth Bader Ginsburg's seat. Not one. On the other hand, a number of them have come out and eliminated a great number of options for us. So as we explained on the live show today, live show is always at 6 o'clock Eastern. Check it out right here, for example, on youtube.com/TYT. Nancy Pelosi came out and said, we're not going to shut the government down. So I talked to an expert today who you'll be able to watch at 5:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on the conversation that comes on right before the Young Turks. And he explained that the continuing resolution, which funds the budget and the government, and the debt ceiling are both going to likely come up after the election in the lame duck session. So that's where the Democrats would have an opportunity to say, hey, if you guys are going to go out of bounds and try to put somebody on the court at this point, especially if Donald Trump has lost the election, or actually that's the only scenario in which this would be relevant, then we're going to go out of bounds and shut the government down. But it's not, I would say it's not me doing it, it's you doing it. I'm telling you that's the action that's going to happen if you try to fill this seat when you have no legitimacy. And so I'm not the one doing it, you're the one doing it, you're the one forcing me to do it, right? But of course, Democrats aren't going to do any of that. Nancy Pelosi immediately took it off the table. If you're going to take things off the table, then don't go on TV, because all you're doing is helping Republicans. If you don't put anything on the table and you take things off the table, by definition, you have helped Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. By the way, we also have a poll up, tyt.com/polls. That's where you can see all of our polls. Who's a bigger liar, Donald Trump or Mitch McConnell? That's a tough one, man. As one of our viewers pointed out today, one of our members, we read the member comments first, tyt.com/join to become a member. On YouTube, you can just hit the join button below, and I see all your names. If you're already a member or if you're signing up to be a member. Anyway, they said it's almost like Mitch McConnell revels in being ranked number one in hypocrisy. Because I think he does. I think he thinks, I'm going to break the rules. Now, what are you going to do about it? Going to sit there and bleed all day? And usually Democrats play the role of Billy Bob Thornton from Tombstone, to finish that reference. And they go, and run away. So first part of the runaway is Pelosi saying that. Second part of the runaway was Tim Kaine coming out and saying, okay, yes, but I don't want to do impeachment. And I also don't want to pack the court afterwards. Well, I explained to you guys immediately that there was 5 things they could do. That's 4 out of the 5. The other one is just the delaying procedure. And once you get into the lame duck, the delaying procedure actually doesn't help you much at all. That's asking for unanimous consent. Even that, the tea leaves are saying, you know what? They say, yes, but if they do that, the Democratic senators might get really tired. All right, let me read you Diane Feinstein's comments. Now, here's a fun part of the video. I'm going to put on glasses. You don't normally see me in glasses, and you never see me in these. These are my backup glasses to read Feinstein's comment, which is on the computer over there. She said, I don't believe in doing that. I think the filibuster serves a purpose. It's not often used. It's often less used now than when I first came. And I think it's part of the Senate that differentiates itself. Now, why is the filibuster relevant? Well, if you want to add if the Republicans fill the seat in an illegitimate way, again, if Donald Trump wins the election, they get to fill the seat any way they like. That's how elections work, right? And especially they keep the Senate, they keep the presidency. Of course they're going to fill the seat. We wouldn't complain at that point. The people have decided it's over, right? I certainly wouldn't like it, but hey, take it up with the American people, okay? So I don't like that Trump appointed 2 people to the Supreme Court right now. But that's what happens when you win, right? And Obama should have been able to appoint Merrick Garland and get him confirmed. But the Republicans sat on it for a year. That's why I say I think Mitch McConnell might be a bigger liar than Donald Trump. He's certainly much better at it. He's more effective at lying. Donald Trump's an idiot who gives away the game, whereas Mitch McConnell plays the game sophisticated enough that the rest of the media until now never even call him out on it. Let me shout out some members I see here. Jeanette Villanova, Left is Best. Thank you guys for being members already. I appreciate it. So you can't add people to the court unless you end the filibuster. And so when Feinstein says, I'm going to take the filibuster, ending the filibuster off the table, that means there goes expanding the court. All Democrats have done in the last 48 hours is punch themselves in the face. Every single comment has hurt their cause, not helped their cause. Not one Democrat has given one specific way that they are going to fight back. So far, 3 different Democrats, Tim Kaine included, have come out and said, here's what we're not going to do, so Republicans run roughshod over us, because at the end of the day, there's going to be no consequences. Mel W., thank you for being a member. So then Nancy Pelosi comes out tonight on TV and says, well, if they do this, this will be very disrespectful. Oh, will it? Mitch McConnell called himself the Grim Reaper. He said if the Democrats get control of the other parts of the government, including the presidency, and we control the Senate, I will be the Grim Reaper and I will kill all Democratic proposals. Okay? Does that guy sound like he's going to be respectful? That's what you're expecting? Moron of morons, Tim Kaine said, well, I really hope that the Republicans are going to do the right thing, and I'm on here on TV to encourage them to remember what their principles are. Yeah, their principles are kicking your ass, which they're actually really good at because you make it super easy. You take your pants down and offer your ass to them. So that's exactly what you did on TV. Now, I'm not going to fight back or anything, but I hope this bully realizes that he's being a bad boy. Yeah, that's likely to work, Tim. Nice job. He's like, no, I think they will remember what they're all about. You know what the Democrats sound like? The Democratic politicians sound like the biggest fans of the Republican politicians. Oh, no, they will keep their word. So that's the next thing Nancy Pelosi said. Goes on TV and says, if they don't keep their word like this, I think they're going to lose a lot of elections. I think it's going to be 2018 over and over again. You think that this issue now is going to decide the elections in 2022 or 2024? Have you seen the news cycle? Can anyone really believe that? Even if it was like a massive nuclear-sized issue, it wouldn't decide a single election in 2022, let alone 2024. But you think because the Republicans didn't keep their word, she said, if they, quote, if they don't keep their word, this will cost them in all of the upcoming elections. Dude, nobody's paying attention. God, they're so ancient. I remember when I was making a deal with Republican Senator Jim Jablowski back in 1971, and he kept his word. And I can't believe they're not keeping their word now. Well, golly gee, I think the educated electorate will hold them accountable, and good Republican voters who I love and I wish were my voters will just call them out on it and decide to vote Democrat instead. Earth to Pelosi. But Trump is right. If Trump shot someone on Fifth Avenue, he would definitely get away with it. Because all the Republicans would fall in line and go, he had to shoot the guy. I mean, that guy was an Antifa terrorist, anarchist. And Fifth Avenue, New York's now it's an anarchy city, according to Bill Barr and Donald Trump. And then what would the Democrats do? Well, I'm going to tell you, we're going to take homicide off the table. We're going to take manslaughter off the table. We're going to take all charges off the table. We're going to take prosecution off the table. But we will send them a strongly worded letter, and we shall wag our finger at them. And if need be, I'll even rip up some papers. He would definitely get away with murder. Definitely. It's not even close now. We have our answer. So I want to go back to Feinstein for 1 second, then I'll wrap up. So Feinstein said, oh, we now have less filibusters than we even did before. So somebody put out a chart of the number of filibusters that have happened since she's been in the Senate. Well, in 92, she comes in, and guess what happened? Filibusters went up dramatically. You want to know why? Because Bill Clinton became president, and the Republicans were like, we're just going to grind the government to a halt. So we're just going to do nonstop filibusters. If they thought that was bad, wait till you get a load of the chart in 2008. It goes through the roof in 2008. You want to know why? Because Barack Obama became president. When you have Republican presidents, Democrats sit on their ass and don't do anything. They barely ever filibuster anything. Oh my God, that would take time away from raising corporate cash. What kind of monsters are these progressives that actually want us to do our job? And so when there's a Democratic president and the Republicans control the Senate, filibusters skyrocket through the roof. And that happened while while Diane Feinstein was in office. So her facts are 100% wrong, as usual. By the way, Marla's Fusheng channel, thank you for being a member. And GM Dave, thank you for being a member. I'm about to sneeze. Headed that off the pass. Now when I touch my nose, I get a little Nikki Dearest Gogo. Thanks for being a member. I don't want people to think I'm Charlie Kirk. I wonder what he lives like every day, if you will. All right, Menace D, thanks for being a member. Cenk, I live like a toker every day. All right, anyways, I don't know what he does in his private life, and I don't care. Last thing is, AOC said we should use Zain Ravai, thank you, and said we should use every tool we have, including technical and legal challenges, etc., to fight back and make sure this seat does not get filled. Let me just answer Tony real quick. Tony Spurgeon just used YouTube Super Chat to ask a question. Leland Johnson, thank you as well. And he said, well, could we impeach Gorsuch or Kavanaugh? And the answer is yes, you could, but Tim Kaine just told you he won't under any circumstance. And not only that, he said that there are no Senate Democrats who would agree to that. Now, that's not true. But he's saying, on behalf of all Democrats, I'm telling you, we're not going to impeach anyone. And that basically means we're not going to fight back on anything. Okay? This guy was picked by Hillary Clinton to be his VP. Look, 1,000 things cost her the election. But as soon as he was picked, if any of you remember, I said, uh-oh, that's a terrible sign. It might cost her the election. Because that means I think I've already won, and I picked this total dud to be my vice president. Because of my ego, I don't like to be outshined. So I'll pick someone who obviously is going to do nothing, and hence will not outshine me at all. And I knew that she was overconfident at that point. Hedva Haimov, thank you. If Tim Kaine is your senator, you should definitely email him, but he won't care. Unless you're a Republican. Tell him you're a Republican, and he'll be like, oh my God, oh, this is very important. I got this from an important person, a Republican. They're in love with Republicans. At this point, even the media has fallen out of love with Republicans. The only people who love them now are Democratic senators and Democratic leadership. Anyways, AOC said, let's use everything in our arsenal. She wasn't specific, and I'm going to keep it real on why she wasn't specific, because if she says anything specific, Democratic leadership is going to get really mad, because they're going to say, you can't go out in front of us and say things like that. And the rest of the sentence is, because we're not planning to do any of that, and you will embarrass us by pointing out that there are many things we can do, but we're going to just choose not to do any of them. And do you understand the part of the point that Pelosi's making when she says, "Oh, this will cost them in future elections"? That means, oh, we're not going to do anything before the election. We're going to pretend that the election is going to teach them a lesson, and then we're not going to do anything after the election because we're going to show them another lesson in 2022 and 2024. So, in other words, I ain't going to do nothing. Nothing. And if AOC says anything specific, well, that'll embarrass me, and I don't want that. So, I'm not going to do it. Okay? So, anyway, AOC is right. They should use every legal option that they have, but she also did not get specific. So far, Democrats with zero ideas and have helped Republicans tremendously by taking now 4 out of the top 5 options. In fact, the top 4 options we had off the table. World's biggest losers. All right, before we go, let me do at least some shout outs to folks who did YouTube Super Chat. Mika Gelfand, thank you. And you asked a great question. I'll come back to it at the end, Mika, for 1 second. Robeson 1070, I'll answer your question too. This is going to last a while. Just Trish, thank you so much for using YouTube Super Chat. I appreciate your wonderful words. So Mika's asking, is there anything we can do? Look, the reason I'm doing this, guys, is because your only hope is to pressure Democratic politicians. And if they think that their ass is on the line, then maybe they'll do something. The only thing they care about is their own power. If you don't challenge their power, they'll just ignore you, and then they'll go on losing the Republicans just like their donors pay them to, okay? Is there anything you can do with the Republicans? No. Don't be an idiot Democrat politician and think if I beseech the Republicans enough, they'll do the right thing. There's a 0% chance of the Republicans doing the right thing. If they, electoral consequences they care about, but so like here, I'll give you one last example on that. Cory Gardner came out today and said, yeah, I'm going to do whatever Trump tells me to do, Mitch McConnell tells me to do, I'm a good boy, even though I'm in a swing state and now I look very likely to lose. I'm still going to do outrageous things and say we're going to fill the seat and be wildly hypocritical. Scott Watson, thank you, brother. SV Harkin, thank you. All members, love all you guys. Zane Ravai again, thank you. All right, so why did he do that? Cory Gardner did that because he thinks his guys turning out to vote, his base turning out to vote, is more important than Democrats convincing Republicans to vote for them. He's like, Cory Gardner knows there ain't no Republican's going to vote for a Democrat, okay? And it's all a voter turnout game. So he's right. If Cory Gardner votes against Trump, Trump's going to put him on blast. It's going to totally suppress voter turnout in Colorado, and then Cory Gardner is toast. So his political calculation is not wrong. As it turns out, there's just too many Democrats and independents leaning Democrat in Colorado. He's very likely to lose anyway, but he's taking the best shot he's got. Meanwhile, idiot Democratic senators think, oh, I bet if I beseech Cory Gardner enough, he'll do the right thing. Come on, man. Come on. Okay, so don't bother with the Republicans. Put pressure on Democrats. The good news is they're weaklings. So if we put enough pressure on them, I know they hate progressives. They love Republicans, hate progressives. They give in to a Republican on day one, just like they did here, within 48 hours, complete collapse and surrender, right? To progressives, they'll fight us to the end of days. But that's our only option, so keep fighting them. And Robeson 1070, without getting too much into the details, like that doesn't mean you vote against Democrats. Well, what are you going to do? Vote for Cory Gardner, who says, yeah, of course I'm going to put a extreme right-winger on the Supreme Court and take away your right to choose, and are going to reinforce Citizens United and all the terrible things that are in this country I'm going to do even more of. No, you vote against the Republicans. We're past the primaries. In the primaries, guys, for God's sake, if you care about politics, you care about the news, you care about bringing real change to this country, find out when primaries are. I don't care if it's 2 years from now, okay, which it kind of is, obviously, by definition, right? But find out about primaries and vote in primaries, because the mainstream media is going to constantly help the corporate Democrats. And if you don't get educated and you don't get involved in the fight, those corporate Democrats are going to keep on winning in the primaries and then surrender as soon as they get into office and let the Republicans run roughshod over them. But in the general election, it is what it is. I mean, the less Democrats there are, the more we're screwed. The more Republicans there are, the more we're screwed. So, sight unseen, on the national level, not the state level, but at the national level, of course, vote against every Republican. There isn't a single decent Republican at the national level. They're all total Trump clones, dishonest, hypocritical, and so if you say to me, do you want the weaklings of the Democrats? Hell no. But if my only other option is people who are okay with a fascist takeover of our government, and at this point that is not a hyperbole at all, and who might not even hold another election, again, not hyperbole. Trump has said 1,000 times. He said it again recently. He's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to count the votes. I might just take the votes from Nevada. I don't trust the governor of Nevada. And, well, I don't know that we have to count all the mail-in votes. He's saying insane things like this. Before he said maybe we should move the election. Maybe we shouldn't have the election. So this guy, I don't think he ever said maybe we shouldn't have the election. But he said everything else verbatim. Maybe we should move the election. Maybe we shouldn't count all the votes. Maybe we should, do something about Nevada. So he asked 3 different times, if you lose, will you leave? He said, no, it depends. That's not how democracy works. So vote against Trump and all of his Republican enablers, no question about that. But then you have got to hold the Democrats accountable. If you just leave them to their own device, they will do absolutely nothing that is in favor of us. Fadi Anton says TYT Army are the only ones putting pressure on. Thank you, Fadi. We appreciate it. Look, I love all you guys. We'll see you on the show tomorrow. Check out the guest at 5:30 because he's going to talk about all the different options Democrats have. Then Young Turks at 6 o'clock Eastern. All right. See you then, guys.